everyone, and welcome to Connections for Life. I'm Ted Beat.
I'm
He's
Chad
Krabby
Kubo. I
Kubo.
wasn't actually ready to record, even though I hit record. I didn't think you were just
He's
gonna
Krabby Kubo over here.
I had fancy lips. If anybody got that,
Purdy
My nose
lips.
hurts today.
it's because you have crabs.
What's going on, fellas? How
Never
you
had.
been,
You know what
man?
they
I
say,
feel like
Chad. You know what they say, Chad. Never
I
had
don't
crabs.
think-
Never want them again.
Had crabs, never want them again.
I forget how to get rid of it now. This is no good.
That's why I have pink lips when you guys record.
It's no good. Oh, there we go.
How have you
That's
guys
better.
been? We haven't recorded in 6 weeks.
That's better.
It's been forever.
That
Here, I
actually
can't
looks
take
like
it anymore. I have to stop being young Teddy. There you go.
it.
The scars show back up. The wrinkles are
Oh
there.
God, what's it been? 3 weeks actually.
I think it's
Is
been 3. Yeah.
Where have we
Since
been? the
Joe
last
and I were at
week?
PAPUC.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That
And
was,
then
not-
last
that was
week,
only 3 weeks ago. That feels like it was 6 months ago.
I
I
don't even know if it
know.
was 3.
Because I had Tulsa last week for McElroy Infusion. And then the week before that was like a travel week on the road. And then the week before that, I was at PAPUC with you, Joe.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That
It
is-
feels
that
like
is
that was
fair.
6 months ago.
I hey, you know Nick Torkledson? Torklid? You know Nick. That from
What?
All
Did you
care.
just digress? What are you doing?
Yes.
Are you,
Yeah,
are you
he got
surfing
promoted.
LinkedIn? What's happening?
it's his birthday today. It just came up on my thing. Happy birthday, Nick. If you're watching. Anyways.
Yeah.
He's not.
He
He's
might
not.
be. He watches
No
our
chance.
show. You don't know.
Nobody does.
So back to our regularly scheduled program.
Don't ask me what I did over the weekend. It's been like 3 weekends since I don't even know. And it's now Tuesday, so I can't even remember what I did over last weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing. I've like, oh, my kids had sports, and that's what I did. Like, I said, like, literally, that's what I did. So there's no reason to talk about it. Let's talk about. Well, we can wait. Let's wait.
I was gonna say, let's talk about what we've been doing in the industry the last couple of weeks because we are back on full go. Everybody is in full go.
That's not true.
I'm not.
Joe is not.
Look at me.
Joe is not on full go.
I haven't had a haircut in like 6
The
weeks.
Midwest and some of my customers
You
still.
guys-
I went somewhere a week and a half ago that I had to wear a mask to do a presentation.
That's because you had bad breath.
Yeah, they tried to get you to get mint.
That's not.
and you just
I
didn't.
no one really wants to tell you. Did you notice that no one else had a mask on? Just you? Yeah. Halitosis.
Oh man, that's funny.
No, I wanted you guys I want to talk about it. We don't have to do it now. We can wait to the outro or whatever. But I want to talk about a couple of things. I want to talk about some of the cool things as far as the committees that we've hopped on. Like Teddy and I
Yes.
got on.
I got on one too.
Chad got on
recently.
a new committee, so we can talk
outside
about
of your
that.
outside of your two agencies
Yeah.
or
So
associations.
we can talk about that. We can also talk about and I'd like to when we do talk about that, encourage people to get involved. Like if you want to be involved in the industry and you want to be a change agent and a difference maker, there's avenues there that you can donate your time, and really that's all it is. To kind of be part of something, that's a little bit larger than just your job, that helps benefit the industry. I guess we can launch into this. I got on with Teddy's help an NGA committee. I also got on an APGA committee for operations and safety. I'm on one. The NGA one is methane emissions, and then obviously I'm on the new technology task force for SGA. So Ted, I know you did too as well. Got on a few. So
I did. I joined a contractor committee in NGA, and at APGA, I joined a methane emissions committee. I think it's the environmental committee. I can't remember.
and he
the name
also
of it
got
off
his
the top of my head.
Wegman shoppers
It wasn't
card.
planned. I did get the Wegman Shopper Club card. There's
See, there we are.
Live in person.
Shameless plug. Shameless plug for Wegmans. Who's that guy? Look at
That's
him.
my dad.
That's
My dad is
Danny
going
after
to
his
get
meeting.
stuff right now. Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, I wanted to say this too, because it irritates me about living in New York. And Chad, you don't even feel this pain. Is that no matter where you go, you have to bring your own bags or you have to buy paper bags. There's no such thing as plastics bags in New York State anymore.
Yeah.
And that's just most people don't realize that, because when I go to Pennsylvania and they're like, you want a bag? And I'm like, yeah, sure. They give me a plastic bag. I'm totally jazzed up about it. Anyway, moving on. Chad, what did you?
It's the
do?
simple things in life that please Joe.
Seriously.
I don't like change.
I was on SGA's committee with Joe, but I really didn't get very involved with it, so I kind of backed out on that one on the new product committee. And having both of us on there probably isn't the smartest way to do our time. But I did get some help from our friend Jeff Ogborn over at South Jersey, and he got me on the piping materials committee at AGA. So that's
Cool.
I got to sign in and do all kinds of stuff online today at some point.
Jeff, if you're watching, I would like to be on a committee. Mostly,
no chance Jeff watches this.
I want to be on the super.
We talk about hockey, you will, but not about
we can have hockey corner. I mean, whatever we want. No one watches it.
Yeah, I think we have one view now.
We should just
we went
be
from
on-
5,000 views to 1 view.
We should be on here one day and we should just record like 6 hours of just us talking and see if any, and like just name drop people and give away money if they say, like, just to see if anybody like an
if
hour
Anthony
four
watches
watches
this
this episode, I will give you $10.
I think
Right.
you'd just be disappointed.
oh
I think
just
we
like every other
Or
facet,
super excited that you didn't have to give away any money.
just like every other facet of my life. So it's no change, no significant change.
No, Joe,
no.
I think you're right though, as far as the committee stuff. And that's why I kind of felt like as far as the new product, I kind of stepped back is just because I didn't do a whole lot with it. And I think if you're going to join these things, you can't really join it just to say you're on it. Like I feel like you really need to be active. It looks great if you say you're on this thing, but it makes it really tough on other people in the on the committees too if you kind of don't show up or do any work at all. So that's one of those things. You got to volunteer some time. You got to put a little work in, and it'll be worth it. So.
I think you're right. I mean, a lot of people I think get on these committees and they kind of treat it as like if I am able to, like if I have, it's got to be something that you're committed to and passionate about, and I think we're starting to hopefully get some newer members in the ranks that will start to challenge and change that. So,
well, I think that is one of the biggest things that are taking place in our industry as a whole right now is that we are.
Why do you keep shrinking?
I'm sorry.
It's because his computer moves.
I'm resting my computer on my.
It was like this. Oh, I went like this.
I'm sorry. I'm resting it on my steering wheel, and it's very hard to try and hold it in one spot.
It was just funny. It was just like.
So what I was saying is that right now we are going through a change in the industry, a changing of the guard from that generation of the boomer generation to the X Gen or Gen X, the millennial. And
we know you don't have to tell us
what
the
generations
are.
But we're going through that change right now where we are the ones assuming the positions on the committees and advocating for change and really taking over as the old guard of the industry.
I agree.
And it's a different time. It's a different time that's ever
Did
existed.
Did you just see Joe? I have to note Joe. Shut up.
Jeez, did you get my
not
mouth?
see Joe, Teddy?
I don't want to see Joe.
He muted. No, he muted once. It went off mute. He muted back, and he goes,
"Shut up." Anyways, what are we doing now?
I agree,
Like,
Teddy.
I don't even know what he said.
I do.
Say it again.
He's talking about how our generation of essentially has to put in the time for the industry, and he's 100%.
Oh, by the way, I just want to clarify that shut up wasn't directed at Teddy.
No. We know it was somebody in your house.
Yeah. It was kind of
directed at me too. It's definitely directed at me too.
It really wasn't, I promise. I would have just said it to you.
Oh, that's great.
Wow.
So, do we have a gas fact? Is it that time to bring back?
Yeah. So this one actually I just posted today. It kind of freaked me out. Like that so many people are getting it wrong. Okay, you guys, let's get that out of your system.
Gas fact.
Got it? Are we good?
Joe's gas corner. Facts and gas. Okay, go. Sorry.
Now that Joe's got motion sickness.
So how we all know that we use fossil fuels to generate electricity. It's one of the biggest ways that we generate electricity in the world, right? But this is what I found really interesting. I'll just ask you guys a question. What is the most used fossil fuel for generating electricity in the world? You have three options.
Oh, in the world.
You have natural gas, oil, and coal.
I want to say coal, but I feel like that's the wrong answer because it seems so obvious.
I want to say oil.
Oil.
You gave oil as a choice.
I know, but no one in the right mind would say.
Because
That's why I think that's why he took it.
Yeah.
You're not right. No,
It's got to be natural gas.
You said you were surprised by how many people got it wrong. Chad went with coal. Okay. The only other one besides natural gas, which I would think it would be oil. And then you shame me for choosing that answer. How dare you? The audacity of you to set that up and then push me over the edge. That's ridiculous.
I just thought that the other guess would be natural gas. I didn't think anybody in their right mind would say fuel oil.
You set me up. You literally go.
Anyways,
hey, I'm surprised how many people are getting it
It
wrong.
was crazy. I'm like, you gave oil as a choice.
I know it was a choice, but it was like, what color is the sky? Yellow, blue, fuchsia, purple. You know, I don't know. It was like the most random choice. Anyways, it's not oil. It's coal. But most of the respondents have
If they said oil, it's going to be even better.
No one has guessed oil. Not one person. Not one. Go on LinkedIn and look.
Oh, there is one.
Now,
It's
71% of the people said natural gas and 29% said coal. I just thought that was interesting that
Really?
like it's still coal. With all this, like, we want to stop.
Well, that's worldwide, and that's worldwide.
Well, wait a minute. Let me finish something. What's that guy? Al Gore. Remember him, Mr.
Al Gore? Yeah,
Mr. Clean Energy
Vice
Green guy.
President,
He said just the other day that the biggest reason that we've seen such a large reduction in emissions in the United States is because of the adaptation of natural gas as like a mainstream fuel source. It's the largest reason for change. And we're still like attacking the natural gas industry when in the US, when obviously the vast majority of electricity generating, which is the green, is coming from coal, which is still a much dirtier and not as efficient fuel source as natural gas. So it's like, wait, one last thing. Let me just say this. So it's like you're going from coal to like renewables, and like there's that like natural gas is like that bridge that needs to happen. You know, you need to kind of like go up that ladder to get to better fuel sources, better energy sources, better electricity generation. But we're just trying whitewashing fossil fuels, and it bugs me. Anyways, go ahead.
So I was trying to explain this to someone over the weekend or last week or whatever. I was having a conversation with somebody about it. I don't remember who, but they sit on the very liberal side of the fence when it comes to their politics and policies. And they were explaining how their thought process on how nasty of a fossil fuel natural gas is. And I was, obviously advocating for natural gas, and then they got to the political side of the climate, and they were like, well, this is why we have to be a part of the Paris Accord and all these other things. And I'm like, well, in reality, it's as simple as this. No matter what the United States does moving forward, if the United States could classify natural gas as no longer a fossil fuel, if the rest of the world doesn't buy into it, there's no impact.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And that's what that stat goes and shows. We have switched to natural gas as a primary form of generation for electrical generation. You know what I mean? Generation of electricity in the United States, away from coal. All right. But yet still the world uses it. What we do does matter, but it not in the grand scheme of things right now. And it was just an interesting conversation how they tied together with what Joe just said. So
I'm sorry, I am.
My hand is getting tired of holding this laptop.
I'm listening to you. I'm just trying to find some more information. Like in the United States, it says yonder, that 38% of the US's electricity. I don't know. This is dated, so it's from 2019. But 38% of US's electricity was from natural gas. and 23% was coal in the United States.
Yeah,
So,
but then the worldwide average is still coal is still
Yeah,
number
it's
one.
crazy. Coal's number one by a lot.
Yeah, so I feel like we're in the Blair Witch episode of Connection.
I felt like that almost the whole time.
that's why I'm looking at my other screen.
I feel like you're actually driving and bouncing, but you're sitting still.
I'm holding it with 2 fingers
That's impressive.
against the
Wow.
steering wheel.
Do you change? Or you like
I know I got like 2 fingers on each hand on it, so it's 4 fingers total.
like
I got
this?
the elbow propped against the center console here. You can see my luggage in the back seat.
High commitment level today. High commitment level. All right. Are we
Nothing but-
gonna
Yeah, so
bring
now
on-
we're gonna go on to bringing in our guests since Joe.
Teddy,
can't find
I
us.
want you to do
Wasn't
that.
prepared.
You certainly
I
are
ha-
the guy who
I-
facilitates.
Okay.
Brought him to the show. Oh, Joe's
Sorry,
ready to go again. We got to stop.
I
him.
found what I was looking for. So 36% of the electricity generation in the world is coal. 36%. 22, almost 23 is natural gas. Nuclear is 9.8. Wind is 6.5. Solar is 3.6. Hydro is 15. And oil is 2.5.
Well, when you talk about hydro, how concerning is that now as well with the condition of Lake Mead? I listened to a presentation on this last week, which is essentially the lake that powers the hydro plant that powers Nevada.
Yeah.
And they
essentially.
said essentially
no
if Lake
more.
Mead loses another 100 or 150
Guys-
or 300 feet or something like that, they said they will not be able to generate enough electricity to power the state of Nevada
I get
anymore.
so confused as to how that happens when we're in a global warming crisis and all we do is complain about icebergs melting. I know that sounds stupid, but I know it doesn't get rain, things like that. Like, I understand.
It's been raining up here a lot. If you want to just pipe some of the water down there, like
Right. That's
Well,
the
if
other
you-
thing I don't understand. Can't we give them some water? Like,
Well, so they talked about this, the infrastructure isn't there to be able to route the water to certain places. So essentially like Lake Mead provides like California paid for the whole pipeline essentially. So they get their water reserves no matter what, right? Their electricity generated no matter what because they paid for it. Everybody else is getting theirs reduced right now. And there's a new act going into place to regulate that even more. And each one of these states is going to have that feeds off of that is going to have to take a mandatory reduction
I'll
to
give
be
you
able to sustain.
give
Well,
you
I have
another-
a question. Wait a minute, just really quick. I think we brought this up before, and I don't know if we did or
Talk to
didn't, but we have pipelines that run all across everywhere.
Yeah.
Why is it not feasible for us to run pipelines for areas that are very wet to areas that are very dry? What is the problem with that? I'm
problem
sure.
is
Please,
the-
somebody tell me what the problem is with that. It
The
doesn't make sense.
problem is the environmental damage that would take place to put the pipeline in place.
But we
the-
put pipelines in all the time. If this
You're
is a matter of
100%
saving people's lives and making sure people have what they need, I'm not worried. No offense, I'm not worried about digging up a tree or two to be able to save some lives if we can get water from point A to point B.
This is
We
where
have
you
the
gotta
Great
find-
Lakes and the Finger Lakes up here. There's a lot of water.
you got to look at it from both sides of the spectrum on this one.
No, I
And
don't.
You don't, but most people don't. That's the problem. Is they want to keep the rare northeastern toad that only lives in this one wetland
Love that.
from
toad.
extinction. And then but if we put in this pipeline, we risk disrupting the habitat of this whatever toad. I'm just using for an example. And that's the reason it doesn't get done.
It seems like we have lost the like. In my opinion, is like if it saves lives, then we should do it. Like that's just how I feel, and maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong in that assumption. But
It does save lives of the crossfitted toad.
Yeah.
anyways,
That's the
let's
crazy
get our-
part, though.
Let's
Yeah.
get our interview on.
Yeah,
I saw
let's-
the thing about Lake Mead that you were talking about. It's all crazy. They're finding like volcanoes and stuff
Yeah,
underneath
there's all
it, like
kinds of-
They're finding
bodies.
the
boats and
bodies are crazy.
Dicks and
The
bodies.
bodies
yeah.
are crazy. They literally have found like 30 or 40 mob boss bodies.
Oh yeah, they're 100%. Where do you think they put them all?
Yeah, and then they said the other thing that's interesting is that they found essentially like a ton of like rocks or safes or cinder blocks with ropes tied to them and nothing because the fish have ate the entire body.
They did
Eaten. Sorry.
I thought it was Aiden.
I knew it wasn't
They
eight.
ate them.
I didn't say Aiden, I said eight.
I thought it was Aiden.
Aiden isn't a word, but eight is a word.
Ayton
Correct.
isn't a
Thank
word?
you.
No, Ayton isn't a word.
And there's your
Eaton is a
third
word.
grade. And there's your
We
third grade
know,
vocabulary
Teddy.
lesson of the
We
day.
know. We
Well, I didn't
know
say
Ayton's not a
no.
word.
Joe corrected me like I said the improper
No,
word.
I said Ayton like I
You
was.
did say the
didn't say
improper
it
word.
correctly. Yeah, you said it right. I did not.
Okay.
You said the word right, but you used it in the wrong
Can
context.
we go? Can we go? Can we go?
All
home
right,
now?
so
on
joining
the
us
tape.
on our debacle of a show
We still
is,
do this.
yeah, is our good friend and the new president and chief executive officer of the Northeast Gas Association, Mr. Charles Cruz. Charles has been in the utility industry for over 20 plus years. He served as a consultant at president and principal of FPH Consulting Services, his own business. Him and his wife stepped out onto that back in July 2019, right before this pandemic. Prior to that, he spent a lot of time at Consumers Energy and NiSource as well. Charles he was an awesome guest to have on the show.
It was different for us because we didn't have any setup. We kind of just fired from the hip with him, and he was incredible.
So I met Charles at the Northeast Gas Association fall or spring ops conference, and I was blown away by his introductory presentation to the conference, because he just came in and was like, hey, I own an electrical vehicle and I'm the president and CEO of a natural gas association. And he goes, and here's what we have to do. We got to bring these worlds together. We got to do this. We got to change how our thinking is. And we got to view it how Joe really says all the time. Essentially, he didn't say how Joe says, but how Joe says all the time, that we need to be a bridge, that natural gas is that bridge, and how we can embrace this stuff. And it was an awesome time meeting him and an awesome interview. So let's bring him onto the show. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Charles Cruz.
Hello, Charles, and welcome to Connections for Life. How are you doing, my friend?
Good, Ted. So good to see you, man.
You too. So thank you for joining us here today. We've got a unique little interview going because that we didn't do our normal pre-call. So this is going to be fun because literally Joe and Chad are flying dark, and I love it. Making that
That's like 98% of the interviews for you.
Joe's like that all the time.
This is exactly what it's like.
For me, I'm usually the one that's prepared. I'm not.
So
No, I love this. I love this, man. I've seen some videos. I love what you guys do, and I'm just glad you called me up. I must have been down on the list. Man,
You're 104th.
What's that?
I said you're 104th. This will be our 104th or 105th episode. Just kidding. I mean, we didn't know you then, so you would have been at least like 30.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna break. I know I wasn't gonna break top 20. Yeah, top 20.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you. I mean, it's really always an interesting tale as to how people got started and how they ended up in doing what they're doing. So I just have to ask you, Charles, how did you get into the role that you're in, and what did you do kind of to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, going back, I mean, if anybody has seen my story, they say, I mean, what's this guy been doing, or what's he about? I'll go way back to even getting into the utility industry.
Yeah,
and I went to Ohio University down in Athens, Ohio. I am a big Buckeye fan. So for the listeners that are out there, it was
great talking with you.
Yeah, I know, some people just shut their cameras off. That's
Buckeye fan.
Wait a minute, aren't you in Michigan?
I am.
But you grew up here. I say here. I'm in Columbus. You grew up here, I assume.
I grew up in Columbus. Yeah, I grew up in Columbus.
I moved here about almost 7 years ago now, and you don't have a choice but to be an Ohio State fan.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're rooting for Michigan and you live here, you're just looking for attention. That's what my best friend, my neighbor, says across the street all the time.
Oh, absolutely. No
he
question.
says they're just if you wear those colors here, you're just looking for attention.
What's crazy is I am in Michigan. I kind of have dual residency. I have a home in Michigan, but I have also a place in Boston and Needham outside of our corporate office for NGA. So I travel back and forth. But here in Michigan, I am about 15 miles from Ann Arbor. So my wife is my queen is a University of Michigan grad. So we are.
That's interesting.
we are a house divided, as you would say.
That's interesting.
At least,
Yeah, but
at least it gives you something entertaining to like. Because if she's
she
a
doesn't
big,
care. You know,
no, she doesn't care.
She doesn't care about any game other than the one game per year. And last year, she's going to love me for saying this if she watches it. She was rightfully obnoxious when Michigan.
It's been a while, and
Michigan beat Ohio State.
She's had it built up for a few years before that one. So
she's been waiting for this for a long time. So, but anyway, I started utility business. I went to school, Ohio University, engineering. Recruiter came on campus, said, "Hey," because I thought I was going to end up in automotive or something like that, and I actually took accepted a role at Columbia Gas, NiSource, way back when, and I thought it was going to be kind of a temporary gig until the automotive, till Honda of America or Toyota or somebody called, and they never called. But the point is that I loved having, I think, influence on how energy is provided, even back then at that young age. And it was just something that it was a love, it was a passion that I had. And so I had the opportunity to work for NiSource, which was a fantastic company. And then from there, I went to Consumers Energy, out, in Michigan, one of the largest energy companies in the country, and then went into some consulting. I wanted to kind of broaden my wings, so to speak, and really kind of understand a little bit more beyond just being the operator that I was. My career was in operations and engineering. And I
was
really
that your own business, Charles?
It was, yeah.
Well,
it is.
That's really cool.
I was just saying, it's still going on, isn't it?
Yeah. It is, yeah. I'm no longer part of it or leading it. I kind of advise from here, from here to there. My wife is kind of taking the reins, and she's kind of leading FPH.
That's awesome.
Consulting.
We're gonna have her on.
It wasn't, but Chad, it wasn't so awesome in the beginning because we started the consulting company in January of 2020.
Ooh.
And then, it was just bad timing.
Just really get that right off the ground.
Yeah, it was bad timing. In March 2020 happened, and it just, what it did is it stretched many ways in how you think about who you are and what you want to be and what are the skill sets that you have, right? Sure. And
turn inward in those moments right there, man. You were already turning inward by stepping out and starting your own thing, and then something like that happens when you do it, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, man. Yeah.
And fortunately, for a period, the financial piece was kind of taken care of. I mean, we were okay, but it was, and you guys know, and anyone that works, I mean, you really just want to get to work, and you want to get clients and all that. And fortunately, we landed some really good contracts, and we were able to weather the storm.
Awesome.
Fast forward to 2021, a recruiter reached out and said, who's a really good friend, and said, "Hey, I got an opportunity at Northeast Gas Association. What do you think?" And I'll be honest with you, I was like, okay, I've been an investor-owned utility, done consulting, and to go to a non-profit association, is that the right move for me? But the more I started talking,
right?
The more I started talking to the board, the selection committee, it was just an incredible opportunity, and has been for the past year. We've got a very talented and engaged board of directors from all the, you name it, all the prominent energy companies in the Northeast. Mm-hmm. And I've got a lot of friendships that I've been able to strike up, and they are just leaning in on what the future of our industry, is about. So I'm geeked. I love the opportunity, and in short, that's kind of my deal, how I got to be where I'm at.
You have a lot of really good people that work for you too at NGA. I mean,
Oh,
that
exceptional.
are that, yeah, just fantastic
What-
people. That we
I'll
know.
tell
Hey,
you,
you
one of the
better
rock
say that. What if
stars-
he was like, nah, not really?
Oh, darn.
Man, they're okay. Yeah, they have their.
One of
They have
the
their
guys I'll
moments.
tell you that we love is Adam Day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Is Adam
yeah.
on-
Great
yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
Full of energy,
He's
been
full
on
of
our show.
wisdom.
And
Yeah.
he's
So-
He's
Well,
never
no,
been
he
on the
has,
show.
yeah. He's coming.
Sorry, I shouldn't say he was on our show. We did an expo during COVID, like an online virtual thing, and he was a big part of helping us.
He
with
taught
that.
it. Yeah, he taught a class for us too,
Yeah.
and everything like that.
So here's the thing about Adam is he's our I know that should be the name of a movie or something. Here's the thing about Adam. Here's the thing
And maybe
about-
someday.
he is he's one of the newest members for NGA. He joined us earlier this year, and the guy just I don't even know how old he is. You know, I feel like he's in his 20s.
Yeah.
But he knows so much.
Like a sponge.
And he's
Yeah.
also super passionate.
Yeah,
it.
very.
You don't
very,
see, a lot, and
So-
especially the younger generation for this industry, right? It's not like
very.
the
very
cool
passionate.
thing for the younger industry or younger people that fossil fuels and natural gas is like cool.
I absolutely. I have one question. Out of all the things that you've done so far in your career, you've done some pretty cool stuff, and you can't count now as the thing. What's been the most interesting? I mean, you're vice president of gas operations at Consumers. You have a lot of very interesting, really cool things on your resume that you've done in the utility industry. What was I don't know if you can say favorite, but what was the most interesting or taught you the most, I guess?
Yeah, I think for me, the first job I had, the leadership job I had, was a very good lesson in leadership. And I made the mistake of this. I thought if people loved me, liked me, then I would be a good leader.
Yeah.
And if anyone's been in leadership, you know that's not the case.
Doesn't work. It's not a long term strategy.
No, but I wanted everybody to say, "Hey, Charles, we love you. You're cool. You're a cool dude," and this and that. And I quickly realized that, likability, as a leader, is great if you can get it, but it's not, what you sign up for. It's not what you
It's not necessary.
what should be focused or necessary on the job. I've been fortunate enough to where I have had some good relationships and that I've built over the course of my career. The other challenging, I think role, Chad, would be when I went into customer operations. And I did that for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years. And so here you have an engineer and kind of an operations guy that gets thrown into working with the call centers, working with, at the time we had meter reading and other customer facing organizations. And it really kind of taught me that where there's upstream and there's downstream, influences in everything that we do, and to really try to understand that. And that to me is, was a great learning experience. So I would think I would say those. I mean, every single job I've had has been great, but those 2 things probably stick out the most.
What did you, when you started at NiSource, what did you start out as? What was your first role?
I was I was what they call a facilities planning engineer, and
You might still have those.
Yeah, and
Sure.
And my job was to do system modeling on the coldest day of the year to make sure that, gas got to where we needed to get to and what type of improvement projects were needed. I worked downtown Columbus in what they called the Ivory Tower. And every company has an
I
Ivory
was there.
Tower.
That went away about 7 years ago. Yeah, it did. They moved like 7 years ago. I've been there.
Yeah,
That's
and
nice.
I remember I got to tell this quick story. So I remember my first day, 22 years old, what have you, and I was I was making $35,000 a year, and I thought I was
You were killing it.
Off with the-
loaded.
Killing
I
it.
thought I was loaded, man. Anyway, I showed up. I think I had like a golf shirt or a polo shirt on and some khakis, kind of the boring engineer, shows up.
Yeah.
And my boss looked at me and said, son, we wear shirt ties and coats, coat jackets here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I thought I could, just hang out in my cube and until maybe the latter part of the week. No, Joe Keener was his name. He sent me home
On your first day?
on my first day.
Come on.
So it's a true story. And so
You're like, I'm not getting a paycheck this week. I'm not gonna make it.
so I was freaking out.
Yeah.
So I it's a true story. I bolted over to J.C. Penney and bought they had these suits in a bag,
Yeah.
Oh,
that
yeah.
you could buy. And
Yeah.
I bought like 3 of them. It was like a black, a gray, and a olive colored
Yeah.
one. And I ran home and shook out the wrinkles in them, threw on a tie, and went back to work.
Boy, hasn't that changed?
I know. But the funny thing is,
Let Joe shows up in flip
that Steve
flops.
Harvey vision that Steve Harvey says about every man needs to own these 3 suits, these 3 color suits, because then it learns.
oh yeah, exactly. Here's the
Yeah.
thing, though. That was the only 3 suits. There was only 3 suits that I would buy that entire year. So I would change the jacket with the pants.
Yep. Exactly.
I would
Mix and match.
mix and match.
That's
Yeah.
Hey,
amazing.
Joe Keener, if you're watching, that was BS, man. Just so you
I
know.
think it might have been. No, I don't know if it was BS. I think it might have been a process to see who's going to stay the course.
No, that's what everybody thought.
Yeah.
They thought it was when you went to work, you had to look a certain way to be able to do a particular function. And I
They
think we
still
have
do
in
that
the country.
sometimes.
They do.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
certainly
do.
they do. Can you
So
imagine
this
if
was-
your lawyer showed up in a sweatshirt like to a trial? I mean, like there's
Yeah.
obviously things that
It was that was in the mid 90s, and so that was the corporate culture,
Yeah.
back then was
when did you start to see it change? Like do you remember a point where it started to get lighten up a little bit?
I do. It was probably early 2000s. It started to. So NiSource ended up acquiring Columbia Energy Group in 2001, and I think it was probably around that time, or even later 90s. I think it started to kind of lessen. I was only there though, Joe. I stayed in that ivory tower for about a year. And then I went out to the field, and I did that intentionally. I wanted to get out to the field
To learn.
just because I felt, I knew I never really kind of fashioned myself as an engineer to sit in a in a
Sitting
cube.
in that
Nothing wrong with that. I mean, we've got
There's a lot wrong with that. Sorry, I'm not gonna let that's horrible. It's a horrible existence. I'm sorry for every engineer that's watching. Get out of the field. It's horrible.
Yeah. And that just wasn't what I was made for, I don't think. And so I got out, and so the tie and the jacket, I was able to kind of lose that.
Mhm.
What I was able to gain though is front and center out where the work was happening. And I remember I got my first leadership job when I was about 25. And
Wow.
I was really young, right?
Yeah.
I was 25, 26. And I was with a field leader, field operations leader. So I had service and distribution
Wow, in
folks
3
reporting to
years,
me.
huh?
What's that?
That's in 3 years, roughly, since you
Yeah,
started.
3 years.
That's quick.
I'm still shocked that they gave me that responsibility at such
Yeah.
a young age.
Hey, it worked
But
out. I mean,
It worked out.
suppose it went the
Um,
other way, but
You're questioning
taught
the
me-
leadership
I tell
now
you
that
what.
you're in leadership, though. You're like, you guys really gave that to a 25-year-old? Do you know what 25-year-olds do?
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about. I mean, to that point, we were just talking about Adam. One
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
our new
Yeah.
engineers, and it's you have many that are mature, more so at that age than others. But the point is that I was thrown into leadership really early, And that was when the example I used earlier about wanting to be liked. You know, the guys, you know, I want the backhoe operator to be my buddy, you know, my fitter to kind of, you know, and go out on the field and be like, welcome me with open arms. And they did anything but at first. They were like, who is this? Seriously. Just think if you if you're you know, you've been doing your skill, your craft. And let me tell you, yeah, being a gas operator is a skill. They are professionals.
Trade.
They are the most knowledgeable. And, you know, nothing against my electric friends, but you know, but by the time you get to be at a level of say a welder or a senior fitter or fitter in charge, I mean, you have
seen it all.
You've seen it all, and so these guys, and we did have a few women back then, were just highly skilled, and here comes this 25-year-old, you know, with loafers on, coming out to the field with this hard hat backwards.
Never touched a piece of dirt.
Completely clean.
Completely clean.
Charles, I can relate a little bit. I had almost the same experience in a coating plant when I was 25. I was about 25, and they were like, hey, you're going to manage these 12 guys. And they were all 40 and above. And it was, I can relate. Definitely a strange interest as a young person like that, learning how to deal with that many different people, especially ones that are like, yeah, I'm going to listen to you. Sure. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, that's their first thing. And the likability is you think, okay, that's how I'm going to get them to do what I need them to do. Right. And then at some point you realize that.
Then you get run. Then they take advantage of it and run you over.
Yeah. Then they take advantage of you. They can take advantage of you. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, switching gears a little bit, I wanted to ask a couple of questions about NGA.
Yeah.
I know that you guys probably have a ton of goals and objectives for the next 12 to 24 months. I don't know if there's any that you can share with us, but anything that you guys are excited about and looking forward to in the next, again, for 2023?
Yeah, we're really excited about where our future is headed. And the reason why is we just finished up our executive conference. We had a number of very, you know, highly talented speakers, and we had a panel of folks. We had Toby Rice. He came in and he spoke, president of EQT. He spoke about kind of where he views LNG and natural gas. And we had Dr. Scott Smithson. He provided us a geo kind of political and global landscape in terms of what Russia and Ukraine, and even South China Sea, you know, the implications of what's happening there on food, on fuel, on finance. And then we had a panel of executives from our member companies really talk about their plans for clean energy and their pathways for clean energy and how they're going to get there. And prior to the business sessions, our board unanimously approved us to move forward with our new strategic plan.
Oh, wow, good for you.
Yeah. So we started this strategic plan, Joe, back in June. You know, we brought in a high-powered, I call them high-powered consultants, Concentric Energy Advisors, John Reed and his team, and they were able to sit down with our planning committee, and we laid out kind of the framework of what the future of NGA is going to be, and it's predicated on these things. One is that we must continue to focus on safety, and we must ensure that we provide safe and reliable and affordable energy, you know, to the 14 million natural gas customers that are in our region. The second thing that we really centered on was having thoughts and plans around what we're calling, you know, our balanced clean energy transition, and underscore balanced. Right. I believe fundamentally that we have to look at an all the above approach when it comes to reaching our clean energy transition. Absolutely. And that all the above approach includes wind, solar, long duration storage, offshore wind, as well as renewable natural gas, hydrogen enriched natural gas itself as a baseload fuel, LNG and the like. And so we just were so pleased with the board and kind of their direction and what we got out of the consultant. The other, I think, two things that I would say that we really wanted to focus on is around affordability. And affordability in this sense, this winter, right now, even though we're seeing kind of $8 gas, which, you know, is down from kind of a 14-year high of when it surged past 10, 12 or something like that just last month, we're faced with the prospects of having $40 gas, you know, in January.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that specifically in the Northeast, because I think there's some areas of the country that might have some problems in the next 3-4 months because of that.
Yeah.
Tell me,
Yeah,
explain to me. I this may be the dumbest question, but explain why to me. Why?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So if you look at the Northeast states, and Northeast states comprise the New England 6 states, New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, for our association. In particular, Massachusetts and the Northeast New England is constrained. We don't have a lot of pipeline capacity, or at least a number of pipelines that are supplying the Northeast.
Need more transmission lines, essentially.
Yeah, and we've been trying to get natural gas pipeline projects approved. I say we, our member companies, and those folks that believe in its use, from Pennsylvania, where we've got the largest shale, you know, region in the world. Yet those projects just haven't been permitted and cited. So it creates a supply problem.
Is that a Massachusetts problem? I know Massachusetts really tough, and New York. So I mean, you're cutting through both those places that are.
It's both. To get to Massachusetts, you got to go through New York, and so the challenges lie, you know, specifically with New York.
Just drill under.
Way under.
Wish it was that easy.
Way under.
Just sneak it in. Yeah, just sneak it in. Nobody's
Hanging from the trees.
I worry about people. You know, I said this yesterday, and I'm not going to get on my soapbox because these guys know that I can. But two things that you brought up that I want to just address. Number one, the transitory, like to transition to clean energy, right? Whatever we want to deem that, has to be an all-encompassing approach. And I think that that's where people get lost, depending on what silo they sit in. They stick in that silo, right? I'm so happy to hear somebody from our industry that sits at an executive level say, it's not just what's best for us, it's best for what's best for humanity. Because I believe that's honestly the truth.
It is.
The second thing that scares me to death is when you see things happening over in Europe, specifically right now, or even in California a little bit, where they're asking people to budget and ration energy to save energy, which is completely unnecessary. And it boggles my mind that we would put people's health and safety at risk because of policy. And that makes me insane. It makes no sense to me in any realm, and you're never going to explain it to me. When there's abundant energy that's available to house, clothe, and feed and keep people safe, and you won't do it because of policy, that makes me question a lot of things about a lot of people. So I'm glad that you were kind of looking at it in that approach, because it's not one solution, one shoe fits all. It's everything. I think we all agree, even that we sit in the natural gas world, if tomorrow somebody invented a machine that allowed us to get all the energy we could possibly need tenfold from solar, we would sign up for it tomorrow. Yep. I think we all agree with that. The reality is that doesn't exist. So I'm just really happy to hear you say that, because I'm super passionate about that part. And I never hear anybody say, well, it's not just about us. It's about everything. And it's nice and refreshing to actually hear that from somebody. So
you know, there's so many people, Joe, that share your frustration, you know, and it is real kitchen table type decisions that we have to, you know, think about. We have to think about the those moms and dads, parents that are forced with having to make the decision between their prescription meds or their utility bill.
Right.
Yeah. Or turning your
And-
lights on.
And turning your lights on. And prescription meds are going to win out most of the time, depending
Yeah, they have
upon
Yeah.
what's going on in the house. No one wants their lights to go out though, and so it's such a tough
Hard. You're right.
challenge. But it is frustrating, and I think I have to continue to talk about what is the most pragmatic, the most sensible way in order for us to get energy adequacy for the region.
I
And so
wish
those are some of the things
everybody.
that we're trying to do.
Energy adequacy. I like that phrase.
I just wish everybody was that pragmatic and took that approach, because I feel like we've politicized things to
But
a
yeah,
point
it's
where
once
it's-
again, it's
where it's
either
got to be
this way
one
or
or
that
the
way.
other, and I
No,
got it. It makes
can't be.
me so frustrated that it kind of comes up that way. But
I heard someone say this before, and I really feel that oftentimes when it comes to our industry, there's not a single person that I've met, not a single one, and there's not one that I will meet that doesn't believe that we have to save our planet. I mean, their climate change is real. Climate change is here. But like you said, Joe, trying to ration, the amount of energy we use, we shouldn't be. And that's not just in Europe. I mean, that's happening in California.
Sure.
We're seeing it
Yeah.
right now.
it happened
like,
in
don't-
Colorado. Yeah. I mean,
Don't, California, don't plug in your electric vehicles until after 9 o'clock.
but buy an electric vehicle.
What's that?
But buy an electric vehicle that you may or
Well,
may
we
not
passed
be.
this legislation that says that you can't buy gasoline vehicles.
So you may not be able to make it to work to pay your electric bill. It's so counterintuitive to me
The
that.
whole thing is-
But Charles, I agree with you though. There's not one person that says that that's not something we need to focus on. And I'm going to be kind of a little bit more black and white when it comes down to it. Like 100 years ago, no one really cared about what happened when we existed. And in 100 years from now, we're worrying about things that are happening so far down the lane that we're not even taking care of the people that currently reside on the planet. So you have to look at it in terms of like,
It's a good
you
way
know,
to look at it.
what are we trying to accomplish here? Are we trying to save it for 100 future generations? Or are we trying to keep people alive today? What are we willing to sacrifice today for the future, and vice versa? That's where it gets to be a moral more of a moral question. And it's not an easy solution. There's no, magic answer, but I don't know.
It's not an easy
Think
solution.
about it that way, Joe. I like that.
Yeah, it's great perspective, Joe.
Yeah.
It's not an easy solution, and we've got a lot of smart people that are at the table. And
Not any of us. It's just so you guys know.
yeah. Aside from us, we're
No, you're not. I was talking about us three, not you. You're
but we have it's here and now, and we've got to do the best. Just inform and educate. I mean, that's kind of like what we're trying to do is be that provision of fact, be that provision of information. And every now and then we can provide, our opinion on where things are, but we want to rest on just having,
Truth.
information that's out there and the truth.
Well,
And
We could have an
sometimes-
NGA sponsored fact every week if you wanted to go over some cashola.
No, I think you're right, and I agree with you, Charles, that it's got to be from an educational platform. It's got to be an honest message. It can't be wrought with emotion and feelings. It's really something that's based and rooted in truth. What is the honest, when we make electric vehicles, what goes into that? Let's talk about those things and how
When
do
we
we
make
do better?
electric, what goes into that?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the whole. I always tell this dumb story, and I'll wrap it up really quick. But I got into a conversation with a woman from Rhode Island who was so proud of herself that she had purchased 2 electric vehicles for her family, and they weren't using gas-powered vehicles, and that Rhode Island needed more electric stations or fueling stations. And I was like, you do realize that your state, out of all the states, has more electric generated from fossil fuels. Like you're replacing one for the other. You don't even understand
And the
that.
less efficient one.
Because you've not been educated toward it. I wasn't trying to make you're bad or you don't understand, but people believe what they see on TV and what they hear, and they don't really go any further than the surface to understand where anything comes from or how it's made or any of the things that go along with it. So I don't know. I agree with you though that you said the education piece is massively important. So
yeah, so I do. I'll share this with you in the viewers. I have an electric vehicle. I do. You know, we just got ours. We just got ours in June of this year. And so people know that.
Is it a Tesla?
It is. Yeah.
Does it drive you? Does it
drive me? No, I don't have that model. I'm not. Yeah, I work for NGA.
And there goes that NGA sponsored thing every week.
I'm not only the president, I'm also a client.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't drive me. I did not spring for the.
That's neat, though.
Do you like it?
I like that. Yeah,
I love it. I love it. I got the Model 3. So it's the
you know what's the best?
Model.
You had choice.
Yeah,
I did.
You had a choice. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool that you had a choice.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. People ask me, "Oh man, you caved into the electrification story." I was like, "No, I'm driving my natural gas powered vehicle." And they're like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Well, 50% of this country power generation is fueled by natural gas." What?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a segue into
that
if it wasn't for
that's
natural
always
gas,
a fun conversation to have.
They're also really fast.
Yeah, they are really fast. Huh?
Yeah. It's one of the best. It's no plug for Tesla, but it is one of the best cars I've ever had. I mean, it's so far.
And as long as you have a choice, and
awesome.
happy with the choice, it's the being forced into the decision that I think most people recoil from.
Yeah.
And what a great segue into kind of the fourth thing that I was getting to in terms of that list of things that we're looking at, and that is choice. That is customer choice. I mentioned my experience, in customer operations, and one of the things that I distinctly recall in our voice of the customer campaigns that we were doing was that customers just want choice, and they want to be able to choose. And so, one of the challenges of trying to pick a side, if you will, whether you're picking the side of all electric or picking the side of I'm gonna natural gas or bus. The problem with choice is or lack thereof is you're going to tell going back to affordability, you're going to tell a family that they have to pull out their furnace, or they have to pull out their gas stove, not because necessarily that they love their gas stove, but it's an appliance that they have, and who can afford to do that? And if the answer is, well, we'll make rebates or provide rebates to you and utility company will help somehow. You're still paying for it. I mean, it's not free.
Right.
Somebody's paying for it. And so again, we will get there. We must get there. We must move towards a zero carbon future.
Sure.
But the how we get there and the when, I think is maybe not so much the when. I think we've all kind of got this 2050 goal in mind, but it's the how, and that's really what we're focused on.
Well, I think it's interesting. Really quick, Ted, before you jump in, I think it's cool that you guys are looking at that and having that measure of choice. I think one of the biggest issues that people have with transition is that everybody's okay with things changing until it impacts their lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's okay with you should do this, or you should try this, or we should do this. But the day that you have to rip out your stove or put in a new furnace and it costs you money and takes away from your personal finances, that's where people go, whoa, wait a minute. Maybe that's not the right decision. And I think that's where we struggle a little bit with that messaging. If we're going to transition to that, it has to be something that everybody wants, agrees with, and it's affordable. Otherwise, it's just completely collapse into itself, and you're going to have, no better situation than you do today. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's my soapbox moment.
That'll lead me into. Yeah, I was going to cut him off. Trying to. So, but
I like talking to Charles.
Yeah,
away.
Well, so he hit a whole bunch of a bunch of points that I was trying to bring up there, but essentially, when you were talking about choice and freedom of choice, Charles, that's what resonated with me during your opening remarks at the spring conference, where I'm like, okay, him and I got to talk. Okay. It was your leadership and the strategy that you were implementing in your role at NGA and embracing change by choice, that really hit home with me. And I think that you know, just your willingness to share your personal story and all of those things on this platform right here, I think it's safe to say NGA is in good hands.
Completely off the hip too. I thought that was incredible. I could talk with you, but Joe, I know Joe, we could all talk to you probably for another 2 hours. And and still be completely interested. Unfortunately, we have a meeting.
Yeah, we have a meeting here. So, but I want to tell you thank you. And I really want to say that you are steering the ship in the direction that I think I speak for the three of us and say we're on board.
I'm really hopeful that some of the other gas associations pick up where you guys are kind of heading, and maybe to change their thought process and how they're doing some things.
Yeah, we get an opportunity to get together, you know, with AGA and Southern Gas Association and Midwest Energy, MEA Energy. And so, yeah, we are making some efforts to really learn from each other and share with each other. You know, we have the distinction of being the largest, you know, regional energy association, energy trade association in the country. And so that's not a title that we take lightly. You know, we know that we have to lead from the front, as they would say. And so we're just happy to do it. And I gotta say, I could talk to you guys too. I mean, you guys are like brothers from another mother, you know.
Maybe we'll do a part 2 with you and pick your brain in another few months once things.
If you were showing up to NGA Fall Ops, I would go live with you for it. But
just make him feel bad. That's nice, Teddy.
We also don't let Teddy go live by himself.
We also don't let Teddy have a microphone by himself. Last time he did that, he walked around the SGA conference.
Yeah, we lost
20 minutes yelling into it.
I got all the guests to come to the show, though. I did. I got all the people to come to the SGA thing. So yeah.
Oh, all right.
Charles, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts.
I just want to say thank you. This is the first opportunity for Chad and I to meet you. I think we kind of covered that in the beginning, but really exciting what you're doing. I'm hopeful that what you're messaging is, I think that the industry as a whole needs to stop being so siloed, and you guys communicating and talking together maybe can bring a broader message and a bigger picture to you know, to not just our country, but to everybody in the world, because I think that what your thoughts are is how we're going to get to where we need to be in 2050. So thank you for that. Looking forward to seeing what you guys are doing, and really now looking forward to meet you in person.
Yeah, so. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely.
If you make it here to see your mom too, let me know. I'll more than glad to take you to lunch.
He'll expense you at dinner.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'll get alligator arms with the wallet. You know?
No, he won't. Trust me, Chad will take you wherever you want. I'll take you wherever you want, I promise.
Thank you, Charles. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Charles.
Charles, thank you so much for joining us and bringing your insightful wisdom and your story to our show and sharing it across our platform. We really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for jumping into it. Unscripted, without a pre-meeting, just really rolling the dice, man. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, again, one more time, I've said this, I don't know, maybe how many episodes have we done?
187.
I've said it 100 times. Again, really cool getting to meet people and getting to know people and hear their story of people that you would typically never talk to or meet if you are in your day-to-day life. Charles has an incredible story, and I think he's a really good ambassador for the natural gas industry, and not just natural gas, but also the energy industry.
Yeah.
I think there's very few people that really get it. And as Teddy alluded to in the beginning, as far as like having to bridge that gap and having to be a combined effort of you know, all different energy sources, I think he truly gets that and values the importance of all of the sectors. So I look forward to getting to know Charles a little bit better and meeting him in person. Finally, as I'd mentioned before, I now get to be on the NGA committee, so hopefully that'll bring me a little bit closer to being, you know, being at some events and to be able to talk to him. But again, great guy. Thank you. Appreciate all you.
You'll be a fall ops with me. You'll be a fall ops in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and I'm just looking.
No, Charles won't, but Joe will.
Yeah, I know, but Charles won't be there. That's what
I'm just saying, I'm just thankful that there's people in leadership roles at these organizations that seem to be starting to make the right.
Yeah.
They have the right thought process as to what
using their head,
like.
not just siloing themselves. He was incredible to talk to, and you know, it was kind of funny that he grew up probably 3 miles from where I live now, which is pretty crazy. Just a small.
He said he
weird
had to
little-
get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know.
As soon as
I don't
the Kuvos came into town,
I'm leaving. I'm
there
leaving.
was like a memo that was
we
released.
shouldn't keep this one too long on the backside.
No,
I just
I
have
wanna-
one thing that I want to address.
Please
Two
do.
things actually.
No, you can only have one. You better pick wisely.
The first thing is that on Friday I had reached out to James Taylor, who honestly was driving.
The singer?
No, James Taylor from Footage.
My bad.
And he was headed home, but he ended up stopping with his wife and hanging out with me for about 3.5, 4 hours.
They were there that long?
Yeah, it was
Oh, that's
really
awesome.
nice. It was really nice to see him as always. Love him, the guy to death. So James, thank you for doing that. Really appreciate it. And secondly, I've been posting a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys have noticed about all of these news articles,
I get all the
just the headlines. And it's absolutely insane to me to see all of the headlines from everywhere in the United States that be prepared for high gas, energy prices going up, natural gas prices are going to be through the roof, prices of stuff this winter are doubling. I just want to point out, and I've said it in my post, there is absolutely no reason for this to be happening other than policy.
Mhm.
And it drives
Yeah.
me absolutely insane that we are going to actually knock down the American public another peg after the cost of gas, after the cost of what inflation has done, to all the things that the typical average American have had to deal with. I don't know about you guys, but my electric and gas bill is about $350 in the heart of winter. And I personally can't afford it to be $700. And I know there's other people that are far worse off than I am that are going to have these same struggles. So I hope to God that they figure out a way to be able to help people during the time, because it's going to be pretty rough.
I was gonna say the S word, but the crappiest part is the fact that natural gas is still the cheapest.
100%.
You know what
Well,
I mean?
they
That's
said-
the even weirder part, if you think about it.
At the conference I was at last week, they put a statistic out that said essentially the average cost to heat a home in the United States last winter was approximately $185, right? For a family, for a home in the United States.
Now it's
gonna
what?
be $295 this year.
It's unacceptable. It's unnecessary.
$295.
It's unacceptable and it's unnecessary. And the leaders of this country, and the people that are your congressmen and senators, you guys need to reach out to them and tell them how much bull ass word this
Garbage.
is. Okay, it's garbage. It's garbage that people have to live like this. It's garbage that more money is bleeding out of people's pockets to keep themselves alive. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. So
I
that's
agree
my
with that.
soapbox, and I'm really agitated about it. And that's where we're going to leave it.
That's a good point to end the show on. We love you guys. We remember to click like, subscribe, share, tag Joe as the angry environmentalist,
Angry Elf.
and then share it, because I think it would be hilarious to make the guy who doesn't exist on social media go viral on social media. So that's my challenge to our audience.
Do that to me.
Make Joe be famous on social media for his
Make
controversial
Joe
famous again.
views.
Don't cheese, Louise. That's all we need. Don't do that.
Joe,
Whoever-
Teddy, let Teddy go. He has another meeting. We have him in a parking lot at
He's got to
Wegmans.
go to Wegmans and pick up
I'm picking up a sushi roll.
Some sushi platter.
sushi roll and some edamame.
There's the
Oh, there he is. Look,
the president.
Don
Over
is he on the
video
phone still?
conference
You
in
should
his
beep
truck.
at him.
Honk at him.
Yeah, honk and give him the look. We didn't
I
need
did.
all this. You're on the
I did.
show.
All right, you made our episode. Made our episode.
He's like, ah.
He's like, what?
Oh!
That's
That's
gonna
gonna
That's gonna have to be bleeped.
We gotta
Bleep.
believe that one.
You're the first one, you dummy.
No, I
You're a
said it, but
dummy.
not
No.
that bad.
Yeah, it's been said. That was not our first drop, but he's looking at me going,
do you
Make sure that somebody marks the time so we can get that edited, please. Because
Chad, that's
It's
gonna
gonna
have
be
to be
about
you.
approximately 20 seconds from the end.
He's looking at me with like the Will Ferrell, and I don't know what to do with my hands.
All
right,
let's
goodbye.
go. Please.
before
Bye,
something
guys.
else happens.
Chad, you have to hit the stop button.
Oh, that's right again.
That's why we're here for you.
Thanks, guys.